What is up, my dudes, and the one girl who just likes a little bounce in it? This is Bikes, Beards, and Brews. Let's kick that intro. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we kick this one off, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. New videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. Just we're rolling through it. We're rolling through it. Anyway, today we're doing the long-term follow-up review for my suspension technology suspension, front and back. So just a quick recap. I've had the rear suspension going on a little over a year now. I got them June 2021, I believe it was, up at Laconia during Laconia Bike Week. Suspension Technologies put them on. I decided to give those guys a try after talking to them for a little bit, and they just seemed like good dudes. So I figured, hey, let's do it. I was incredibly impressed with them. I absolutely loved the rear suspension. So when I went back this year, also in June, right around Father's Day, I went ahead and had my front forks done. So I've got the inserts up there now, and I now have full Suspension Technologies suspension. So since getting these shocks put in and the front suspension put in, I've put on thousands of miles on this bike. Thousands, literally. The rear suspension even more, because, you know, last year with the rear suspension on, I went down to North Carolina, I went down to Georgia, I did the Tail of the Dragon, I did all that stuff, and I came back up. So those I've definitely been living with a whole lot more than the front ones. But that is not to say that the front ones have not gone through the rigors as well. Since having the front ones put on, I've gone on a few road trips. I did the Tail of the Dragon again this year. I went over to Georgia after that. I came back up. When I went down to the Tail of the Dragon, I did that as a 1K in a day. When I came home, I also did that as a 1K in a day. I know this feels repetitive if you watch all my videos, so, you know, sorry about that, but this part is just kind of a recap for those people who don't watch every single video, but really should. So yeah, I've done those road trips in particular, on top of a bunch of other road trips. The thing about those was, I was living on the bike for 1,000 miles. Down to North Carolina, that was like around 16 hours straight. On the way back, it was about 17 and a half or so, because it was a longer trip, honestly. When I say 1K in a day, I don't mean exactly 1,000 I stopped. Like, it means I surpassed 1K going to where I needed to be. So with that being said, this made for a fantastic comparison, because, as I said, you know, last year I went down to the Tail of the Dragon. I did that ride, and I did that only with the rear suspension. And then this year I went down with the front and the rear. So, you know, I did everything pretty much the same, except the first year I didn't do it as 1Ks. I broke them up into 500-mile stints or whatnot. I can honestly say, like, when I was on the Tail, and for those of you not familiar with the Tail of the Dragon, it is an 11-mile road with 318 curves, switchbacks, all that stuff. All you little trolls, hold your comments. I realize that there are other roads out there that are more technical, that are more amazing, that are more this, more that. There's always something better. We all know this. The Tail of the Dragon just seems a pilgrimage for bikers. So it's a place I go. And honestly, I like to go down to see my buddy Doyle, and I also like to ride that road. It is really fun. And I usually go down there for the Friday the 13th, like, weekend camp thing. So it all works out, and that's why I go there. Nonetheless, as I'm hitting bumps, I can tell you 100%, like, my suspension is night and day from when I had stock suspension. And that's not even just the rear part. We're also talking the front part. I mean, on the fronts, here, let me show you a little clip. Peanut, what do you think about that suspension?
Oh, it's garbage.
So that's Peanut. Peanut works for Suspension Technologies. That was just before he replaced the front end of my bike. And you know, as you can see, it was bouncy, it was spongy, it was squishy, and you feel that when you're in turns, you're in curves and stuff like that. I mean, you really feel your front end kind of giving way on you, and it's not nice. It really isn't. I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. Since then, with the Suspension Technologies one, I can honestly say that's not been a problem. Like, my front end is definitely firmed up, but not to the point where it feels like I'm living in prison with a boyfriend. It's firmed up in the way that, you know, everything on my bike, my tires just feel more connected to the road. And that's a really important thing for me, and that's something that obviously I think most bikers it should be important for. That should be something that you should be really aiming for. If you're looking to exactly match what I have on my bike, my rears are standard shocks, and they are 13-inch, which is 1 inch taller than stock shocks from Harley-Davidson. If you're looking to do the fronts, I believe those are also standard as well. You know, honestly, I didn't ask them when they put it in. I was just like, get those shocks in there, I need them. So I can honestly say it's just been a much better ride. And I can sit at my desk and I can show you different pictures and all that stuff, but I want to be on the road talking to you about this, because that's where shocks are most important. I mean, let's be honest, it's not going to be too interesting just to look at them. If you go and you watch this video, 1 minute and 30 seconds into the video is when I talk to Mike, the owner, and he gives a full rundown on how they build their shocks, what they do, and all that fun stuff. So it's really worth watching if you're looking for shocks. Now, I'm sure the question coming up is, how do they compare to the other big three? And honestly, I don't need to drop their names because we all know them. Like, when you get a bike, you're picking one of these shocks. You know it, I know it, we all know it, so I don't need to name drop. Honestly, I've not used those shocks. I have not used any of those three. I have ridden on a bike that's had one or two of them. Felt fine. And honestly, part of the reason why I went to Suspension Technologies is because when I originally saw their tent and I originally talked to Mike, one of the first questions I had for him was, why should I buy your shocks instead of these other three guys that I know, that are a household name, that, you know, everyone and their mom has installed on their bikes? And he went through his shocks, their shocks. He was very respectful of the other three guys. He didn't trash anyone. He wasn't mean. He definitely spoke about all the similarities that they have, and then he kind of you know, started veering off on what's different about his. One of the things that I will say that Suspension Technologies has that is way better, light years better than the other guys. Actually, it's not even one thing, the multiple things, and I know I've touched on this before. If you go watch that video I just showed you, Mike will tell you straight up, these shocks are 100% American made. They are, all the parts are American sourced, they're made in America, and they are produced in America. They are American shocks. So for those of you out there who's I want to buy American, I want to support American jobs and American you know, lifestyle and all that, these are the shocks you buy, because I guarantee those other three guys cannot say the same thing to you, period, full stop, the end. So that's one of the most important things right there. Some of the other stuff, lifetime warranty, and not even just lifetime warranty on the bike you have. If I go out and I buy another Road Glide right now and I sell this one and I pull the shocks off and I put them on my new bike, going forward, I still have a lifetime warranty on the shocks. It's a lifetime warranty for the original owner, so you're good to go there. I'm not sure what the warranties are from the other guys, but that's a pretty sweet warranty. And again, if you click on that video, Mike's going to go into a little more detail on that, because it's a good one. I think within the first 2 years, I think he said he just replaces them. After 2 years, if there's an issue, they'll rebuild them for you. So yeah, you can't really complain about that. That's good customer like service right there. So the other thing that Suspension Technologies does that the other 3 guys can't do for you, that won't do for you, that I know for a fact they are not doing for you, is you buy Suspension Technologies suspension, you buy the shocks, front, rears, whatever, both, you get Mike's cell phone number. Like, he wants to hear from you directly. You're not getting a middleman. You're not getting, like, you know, somebody else. You're not getting some third-rate mechanic that he hires. You're not getting like some weird-ass tech support that's going to ignore you. You are getting the owner of the company. Like, go ask the other big 3. Can they do that for you? Will they do that for you? Go ask for the CEO's number of any of those places and see if they'll do that. I mean, it's unheard of. And that's the kind of customer service that I think all of us want. For those of you who are curious as well, and I know Mike mentioned in the other video, he's on the East Coast, so Eastern Standard Time. Be respectful of the hours, you know. Call when normal people are awake, not when you're, like, you know, gaming at 2 o'clock in the morning cranked up on Red Bull. So yeah, aside from that though, I mean, there's such a huge change in my bike. When I get into the curves and stuff, I feel my tires locked into the pavement. I feel so much more comfortable in turns. I feel more connected to everything. There were definitely times with my old suspension where I'd be leaning and I'd honestly just feel like any minute or any second my bike was just gonna like slide out from under me. And that's not a good feeling. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who has gone through that if you're still rocking stock suspension. And I was even a little hesitant to replace my front shocks, because I had read and I had seen, like, in the past, that most people don't really complain about Harley's front end shocks anymore. It's like most people agree that Harley has finally started dialing in their front end much better. So I was like, oh cool, this is how it's supposed to feel. But then I was like, you know what, I love my rear suspension. I love what Suspension Technologies has done for me. I'm gonna give them a shot on the front end too, and I really want to see if this makes a difference. And man, it does. Now there's a few things I want to cover. Like, first, the very bare basics. I don't work for Suspension Technologies. I don't get paid for Suspension Technologies. I'm not an ambassador. I'm not an affiliate. If you, your friends, your neighbors, your mom, your dad, that one weird kid you know down the street all go out and buy shocks from Suspension Technologies, I make no money whatsoever. So this review is strictly because I really like these shocks. I really like my purchase. I paid full price for these, had them installed for free, but anyone else who goes to any sort of motorcycle rally that Suspension Technologies is at will get the same deal. You buy the shocks there, they will install them for free for you. So I didn't get any special treatment there either. Suspension Technologies is just, it's something that I very much enjoy, so that is why I'm doing this review. The other thing we need to talk about is when you go to buy a suspension, there's going to be questions like, how much do you weigh? How do you ride? Are you riding two up a lot? Do you load up your bike with stuff and then go riding? Like, you know, stuff like that. Because they want to either put you in standard shocks or heavy duty shocks, and they want to dial them in correctly for you. So this is where you really need to think about what you do And you also need to be really honest with yourself. If you are never loading up your bike, or you know, once a year you strap a bag to your bike and you go make a road trip and the rest of the time you're just riding one up, then tell them that you ride one up and like you don't strap crap to your bike. If you barely ever ride two up, if you're mostly solo, occasionally you take somebody out on the back seat, again, you ride solo. Just give them the information for you and how you ride. The reason for this is, let's say you have a spouse, or you know, you think that you're going to go pick up a chick at the bar every single weekend, so you factor that in. For the rest of the time that you're riding, you're probably going to be miserable because the suspension is going to be dialed in for what you gave them. So if you're giving them your weight, somebody else's weight, and all the bags on your bike, and let's say that comes out to like 300 pounds and you only weigh 150, they're going to put heavy duty shocks on your bike, they're going to dial it in for 300 pounds, and you are going to feel like you are in prison for every single time you ride your bike. So you have to be cognizant of that. And I mean, quite honestly, like I said, I have standard shocks in the rear. I have this all dialed in for me because I mainly ride solo. And I go on a few big road trips, but I'm not going on a road trip every weekend. So there's no point in me gearing this all up for heavy duty like travel. So me, for example, I have mine all set up and dialed in for just me riding solo, because I'm not going on a huge road trip every single weekend where I have my bike loaded up. I'm not riding two up all the time. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And when I do ride two up, the bike still feels great. Obviously the suspension changes a little bit. That's going to happen, that's part of life. But I guarantee that is way better than, like, you know, gearing towards like something crazy that you only do here and there. I promise you. Last thing we'll talk about, we'll touch upon, is pricing. These are right on par with the other three guys. So it's nothing, I think they actually come in cheaper when you compare apples to apples. They don't do the remote reservoirs and all that other crazy crap. Honestly, I don't like any of that anyway. I'm very much a set it and forget it sort of person. So if that's the mindset you have as well, Suspension Technologies is great for you because it's great for me. Also, this is all my opinion and from my experience riding, so take it as you may. Prices though, I mean, when you're comparing apples to apples, Suspension Technologies usually comes in right about the same or a little bit cheaper. And again, you're getting like that just pristine sort of white glove treatment. You're getting the phone number to the owner. You're getting 100% American made suspension. You're getting all this stuff that the other guys cannot offer you. So I mean, really, there's nothing to lose by giving Suspension Technologies a try. And I highly recommend it because, man, I honestly do love this suspension. I usually do pros and cons right here. I don't have any. I honestly don't have any cons. I like my suspension. I like the fact that it's set in and forget it. I like that it's comfy as hell. It has served me fantastically. I have no complaints. It's great. And again, I'm not making money off this. There's no referral code down below for Suspension Technologies. I have nothing to gain by telling you this. So that's what I got. Let me know what you guys are running for suspension. Let me know if you want to give Suspension Technologies a try. I would love to know how your experience is if you give them a try. I really do want to know, because honestly, I want to know that I am like making good recommendations for people and you know, stuff like that. I honestly like to know that, you know, people are getting the results that I got when I make recommendations or reviews like this. So that's what I got. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this video with friends, share it with family, share it with that one dork you know who is like, well, you know, I kind of thought about getting new suspension, but I honestly miss my prison days. He loves this stuff, trust me. And I'll see you all on the flip side.